Hey, hey, hey. How are ya? Welcome back to my second channel. Welcome back to Jack in the Books. This is my series where I'm trying to bring back the book tag because I miss them. I feel like BookTube doesn't have enough book tags anymore. And so this wonderful creator, ZZ with Books, has a WordPress blog where she has basically curated all of the book tags. And this is just something I've never really done properly on my channel. I didn't even do the BookTube newbie tag, which I feel like is sad. And now it's too late for me to do it because I'm like years into this now. But this tag is called the 20 questions tag. And so I thought it would just be fun to go through them and answer some questions. So question number one is, how many books is too many books in a series? And this has really got me thinking about how many series I've actually read. Looking behind me, I can see Heartstopper, so that's 5. Hunger Games, which is 3. Harry Potter is not on display, but is it 6 books and 7 movies? Or 7 books and 8 movies? I think 7 books and 8 movies, right? I do think that Harry Potter is a real exception to the rule because the world was just so brilliant and there was so much to do with that world that had been created. Like, also the fact that it was set at a school and in the first year we see them enroll in that school, like it makes total sense that each book would be another year in his school, in his education, in academia, wizard academia. But I think that made sense. I don't think many book series have good enough world building to justify that number of books. I think that my optimum would be 3. I think 3 books in a series is really, really perfect. I know that the Before the Coffee Gets Cold series, I think is on its 4th book. And I know a lot of people are saying, it's time to wrap that one up, babe. And I liked book 1, but in fact, I loved book 1. But I've really had no inclination to read any more of the books. I've heard that book 2 is really great. So maybe I will give it another go. But in general, I love a standalone. And this applies to pretty much everything. I love a limited series on TV. I can't think of any movie sequels I've been to see outside of Harry Potter and the Hunger Games. And often when I do go to see a sequel, I just don't like it as much. So for me, honestly, how many books is too many in a series? More than 1. Just keep it as 1. That is not going to be a popular take. That's just my opinion. I think it's because I prefer literary fiction, which generally doesn't have sequels. So that's probably why. How do you feel about cliffhangers? Okay, so I like a cliffhanger in the sense that I love an open-ended book. I love when the ending is a little bit ambiguous. So examples, The Bee Sting. The ending, we kind of know what's about to happen, but I like that it doesn't ever have to spell it out. And instead, our imagination runs wild and we think about all the possible conclusions of what could have happened. What I'll say is there's like one decisive thing and then a series of outcomes from that one decisive thing. So I kind of like that my brain, after turning that final page, then spent the rest of the next day and maybe then the rest of the next week or month thinking about all the different conclusions that could have been drawn. Then also I think of The Guest by Emma Cline, which I can see behind me. That book is left kind of open-ended as well. And then The Handmaid's Tale, I think, is one of the best examples. And here is a book that I was really mad when Margaret Atwood wrote a prequel to it because I felt like it was such a cash grab. Because to me, it's so obvious that a sequel was never part of the plan. The Handmaid's Tale ends so perfectly with this really ambiguous ending. She says she stepped into the darkness or otherwise the light. And so our minds just go absolutely crazy and this sticks with us for ages. And I remember being blown away by that ending. And then in the next book, basically just explains what happens. And I was like, so annoying. Because I liked that there were things we didn't know. I like it when we have to be left with unanswered questions, because that's fun to theorize about and talk about in book clubs and discuss and etc. Anyway, hardback or paperback. Aesthetically, I love a hardback, and I do think that my hardbacks are obviously going to last longer because they won't get as damaged by the sun and the books are more protected and sturdy. But There's something about a paperback that you can just throw around a little bit, that you can bend, that you can break the spine. I don't know. I love a paperback. I love the way it feels in my hands, and it's easier to carry around. It's less heavy, like, so you can read laying down, etc., etc. Read on the beach, like 100% paperback. But all books are great books. The next question is favorite book. I think my favorite book of all time is Sula by Toni Morrison. Oh, I wish I had it to hand, but my friend got me a keyring. My friend Eleanor got me a keyring of Sula by Toni Morrison, of the book cover, to put on my keys. And I thought that was such a thoughtful gift. So that was really, really kind and sweet. She went through my videos to work out what my most frequently mentioned book was, and she said that's the one I seem to talk about the most. The next, and she's right. The next question is least favorite book. And isn't it crazy that I've never considered what is the least favorite book of mine? Like, what is the absolute lowest of the low? Maybe it is The Spanish Love Deception. It might just be because that book made me viscerally very angry. Like, I felt like it was trope roulette by the end of the book. I didn't find it believable. Like, none of the tension really existed for me because I couldn't believe in these characters. I felt like the plot was really flimsy. It annoys me that the man does like 2 lessons on Duolingo and suddenly he goes from being #1 enemy hater to being like the love of her life just because he can speak a couple words in Spanish. Like, hola amigos, like, he's not Dora the Explorer. And I think in terms of that book having so much hype, like, I just can't get behind it. So maybe it really is The Spanish Love Deception. Love triangles, yes or no? Okay, I had a really interesting conversation with my friend Jordan about this, and also with my friend Carrie. We spoke about this too, that often love triangles, or love triangles as they're presented, are not triangles but arrows, because a love triangle would imply that all 3 people are attracted to one another. So there's got to be, like, let's say there are 2 girls interested in the same guy, but maybe the 2 girls also are a little bit into each other, or 2 guys and a girl, and the 2 guys are also kind of interested in each other, or 3 girls, 3 guys, or 3 non-binary people, you know, like, whatever combination that you have, it's only a triangle, only a true complete triangle if all 3 people are attracted to one another. Now, if it's 2 people interested in one love interest, that's an arrow, not a triangle, because the bottom part of the triangle isn't filled in. So I'm going to go with no to love arrows, but yes to love triangles, because that's messy and interesting. What's a book that has a love triangle truly? Acts of Service. Acts of Service is about this, like, throuple, and that, I think, is a true love triangle. Also, I'm a Fan by Sheena Patel has traces of the love triangle because she's obsessed with both a man and a woman. I think, yeah, that completes the triangle. But love arrows. The most recent book you just couldn't finish. Whoa, good question, because I'm pretty good at finishing books. Like, I really, really force myself to finish a book. I actually still haven't finished The Great Believers, which is such a shame because it was a book I was really, really enjoying. Basically, what happened was I accidentally left it behind on holiday. And so I was halfway through the book and then I had to buy a new copy of it because I'd left the original copy I owned behind. And in the time that it took me to replace this book and realize I'm never getting the original copy back that I'd annotated and everything, because it had been such a huge gap in terms of reading it and I'd moved on to other things, I just never picked it back up again. So it's probably The Great Believers, even though everyone who's read it loves it. And the half that I read, I thought was absolutely incredible and could have ended up being a 5-star book last year. But I couldn't include it in anything because I didn't finish it. So yeah, it's going to be The Great Believers. A book you're currently reading. Okay, so I just finished it. I just finished this book. It's called Roaming. It's actually a graphic novel. It's about these 3 friends who go to New York City, and I think it perfectly captures the essence of a group holiday. A group holiday where it's like, the holiday made it out of the group chat, but will the group chat make it out of the holiday? Do you know what I'm saying? Because these people end up really finding there's a lot of tension between them, and you know, some people you realize on a trip, you're just not compatible to travel with, and it's day 1 and you still have like 6 days of the trip left. Like, that's a very real thing, especially when you're young. And this book just perfectly captures that essence, where one of the characters, her name is Fiona, is the worst. Like, if Fiona has 0 haters, I'm dead. I was so mad at Fiona the entire book. And should I even say this? She really reminded me of some people I went to school with. Like, we all know a Fiona. Like, we've all been in a friend group where there's a Fiona. She's basically the one who's like super negative, really obnoxious, and like, this is a tangent, but I sometimes feel like really, really negative people end up being popular in a superficial sense, that like no one really, really likes them, but people get a lot of validation from them. If you have a bitchy, mean, negative friend, when they are nice to you, it's so validating because it feels like they hate everyone in the world except you. Like, you must be doing something right in order to gain their trust, to gain their affection. I definitely think this happens a lot more when you're young, but when I was at school, I found this happening all the time. Like, there would be people in my circle who actually, I would realize, maybe in hindsight, were just mean and very, very negative and rude. And because I had earned their respect in some way, you kind of like see past the fact that they're actually not that nice a person. And it's not until they eventually decide that you are the target of their viciousness that you realize actually they were mean all along, you know, to everyone. I definitely have a few people who I know that I was like at school with who were like that. And it's such an awful part of like growing up when you realize that you do not need to be around those people. Like, well, it's a good thing about growing up and maturing that you realize that, but it's such a heartbreaking thing realizing that you wasted so much time gaining people's affection who were never going to reciprocate it truly, because to their core, they're like a little bit rotten. I do think people can change. So I'm not saying that they're like, it's like eternal damnation, like they're destined to be like that forever. I think that as those people grow up, hopefully they will evolve too. But in that specific moment in time, their vibes were rancid, and you might have like seen past it a little bit because it felt nice to know that they thought you were cool just for a little bit, you know, or cooler than other people, or more worthy of their time and respect. I don't know if I'm just rambling here, but that's what Fiona in this book is like. Because she's so negative and mean and nasty and self-absorbed. Like, when one of the characters, Zoe, kind of like finds a common ground with her and finds a way to bond and realizes that she has softness under her hard exterior, she really clings on to that because she obviously gets validation from it. So I thought that was really interesting. Anyway, all that to say, I thought that book was interesting. The other book that I am currently reading is The Rachel Incident, and I am loving it. So many people told me I needed to read this book, and you know that I love Irish fiction, and I just think it is so brilliant, so detailed, so textured. I really, really am falling in love with the writing, and I'm listening to it as an audiobook, which I'm really enjoying. And actually, that brings me on to talking about today's sponsor, which is listening.com. Listening.com has been an absolute game changer for me because it basically can turn anything you want to read into an audio file. So textbooks, academic papers, PDFs, web pages, you name it, they can turn it into an audio file for you to listen to. And that makes listening.com perfect for when you're cooking, when you're working out, when you're walking around, or even when you're just relaxing. And instead of scanning a page, like let's say you've been at work all day and you've been like reading on a paper the entire time, sometimes it is way more relaxing just to listen to something. Or even the other way around, you know, when I worked as a researcher, I would have found this so useful to be able to break up my day by being able to listen to things or have someone like read it to me, even as a companion, like while I was reading along as well. This kind of thing really helps me to stay focused and diversify the way I'm consuming information. So I think listening.com is so cool. It can also read maths equations. It can skip citations for you. It can help you with pronunciation of words. It has a one-click note-taking feature. So if you want to quickly make a note of something that you're reading, it can help you do that. You just hit the plus note button and it will do everything for you. And so you know how it is. I had to get you guys an exclusive deal and a discount. So I spoke to the guys at listening.com, and just for this community, we have a very, very special offer. So normally at listening.com, you can get a free 2-week trial, but through my link, which is down below in the description box, you can get 3 free weeks of listening.com. So give it a go, see how it transforms your experience, and I highly recommend. I think it's such an innovative idea. So head to listening.com/jackinthebooks to get 3 weeks for free. The next question is the last book you recommended to someone. Ooh, Bad Diaspora Poems. I posted it on my Instagram story today saying I thought it was excellent. So probably that one. The oldest book you've ever read by publication date. Well, that's really tough. Probably when I studied Latin at school. So like some Cicero. I have it like all down. It's right at the very bottom of my bookshelf because really and truly it's the thing I reach for the least. Do I remember any Latin? No. So in the UK, we have a thing called D.A.V., which is like Duke of Edinburgh Award. And basically you have to like learn a skill, go on a hike, do some volunteering work, do some physical activity, blah, blah, blah. And then you get this award. And so I did the silver award with 3 of my best friends and we just had an absolute blast doing it. It was so much fun. And me and my friend Ed, for the learning a skill section, we decided to take Latin classes after school. Basically, at my college, while I was doing my A-levels, there was an after-school club for people doing their GCSEs where they could do an extra GCSE in Latin. And so I never did that when I was in year 11 doing my actual GCSEs, and I've kind of regretted it. And so alongside my A-levels, I decided to take on an extra GCSE, and I went 2 days after school every week, studied Latin in this class with people who were like 2-3 years younger than me. But me and my friend, we were like so committed. We were like, we have to do this. We really want to get this extra GCSE. And we did it. We got to the end of it. We translated some Latin. It was hard, I'm not going to lie, but I ended up really loving it in the end. And super random. But yeah, I did this extra GCSE alongside my A-levels. Why did I do that? No idea. It was very, very stressful. Newest book you've read by... Oh, the newest book I've read by publication date is the next one. Ooh, have I read any books that haven't come out yet, that are coming out in 2024? Oh, I've read an unpublished manuscript. How about that? I read my friend Dakota's book, which was so excellent. My wonderful friend Dakota Warren is a fantastic writer. She has a poetry book called On Sun Swallowing, and it's one of my favorite poetry collections. I think she is just, I'm biased because she is my best friend, but I just love her brain. I think she is one of the most special people I know. So insanely gifted, so brilliant. She is a force to be reckoned with. And when this novel comes out, it is going to blow your mind. It is so incredibly good. I can already see it being made into a movie because it is just so visually stimulating. Like, there was a movie playing in my head while I was reading it. There are so many iconic moments that would just be incredible to see portrayed on a big screen. I mean, the writing is just so vividly descriptive. It's an absolute masterpiece. And this is just the first manuscript. Like, this is the first draft that's, being sent to editors, etc., and agents right now. So by the time this book is ready to be published, it is just going to be genuinely, I think, one of the best pieces of literature I ever read, because I will be rereading. But what I've read so far is excellent, and you're in for such a treat when it comes out. So I guess that. How cool. And it's my friend too. Favorite author? Maybe Claire Keegan recently, Toni Morrison, James Baldwin. Love Joan Didion. I can see all of her books right here. Yeah, that's my answer. And I love Caleb Azuma Nelson too. Buying books or borrowing books? Buying books. A book that you dislike that everyone else seems to love. I recently read this book called Idlewild, and I rated it like 3.5 out of 5. Like, I did still like the book, but I think there were a lot of issues with it. And yet I went on Goodreads and every single review is 5 stars. I was blown away. I couldn't actually believe that so many people thought it was like an unflawed piece of literature, because to me, a lot of the flaws were so glaringly obvious, like things that could so easily have been edited and changed, just in like the structure, in the style. There's this chorus voice that is used every like 3 chapters. I think it didn't work at all. I would have changed how all of those scenes were written. It did this thing at the end of pretty much every chapter where it was like, and then my life changed And then we move on to another POV. So it's like obviously meant to keep you reading. But after a while, I thought it was just so annoying that it would be like, and I wasn't expecting what happened next. And then you just move to something else. And I'm like, it's so annoying. It's such a gimmick to keep doing that. It's so like, well, it's kind of what you would do in like a YA novel, but this is not a YA book. Like it's for adults. So I just think it's like, it's a little bit like how you would write at school. So there were just like a few easy tweaks that could have been made to make the book better. So I was really surprised that other people thought like 5 stars, absolute perfection. You know, I didn't think it was absolute perfection. So I guess I was just surprised to see such an overwhelmingly glowing response to it. The next question is bookmarks or dog ears. Yeah, I dog ear pages that I want to reread in every book I own. So I'm a dog era. I'm in my dog era. A book you can always reread. The book I've reread the most times is The Handmaid's Tale. Can you read while hearing music? Yeah, absolutely. Not music with words, but music in general. Like I love listening to jazz or classical music, lo-fi. When I'm reading, it actually really helps me to stay engaged and stay focused. So I actually read with music a lot. One or multiple POVs. I don't mind. I like a mix. I wouldn't read like a bunch of books that all had multiple POVs all in a row. I would probably space those out more. So generally maybe one person, but really I'm fine either way. Do you read a book in one sitting or over multiple days? Usually over multiple days, unless it's like quite a short, like if it's like a 160 page zinger, then I'll read it all in one sitting. A book you've read because of the cover. This is the final question too. Oh, the one I can literally see in my eyeline is this. Hold on. I saw this recommended by Bellatrist. This is They're Going to Love You by Meg Howry. Literally saw this on Bellatrist's Instagram account and was like, yeah, no, I need to read that one, just purely based on the cover. And then it ended up being really good. So, you know, sometimes you can judge a book by its cover and it works out. So anyways, thanks for joining me for these 20 questions. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you agree with my takes or if you disagree. We can have a little conversation in the comments section. I'm really sorry if this shadow from my mic has been annoying you. I've been kind of looking at it in my viewfinder the entire time and it's actually been kind of annoying me. I don't know why I didn't do something to fix it like right at the beginning of the video, but we're at the end of it now, so I guess it's too late. I'll fix it for next time. So you'll have to subscribe and come back. That was so corny. Ah! But thanks for being here. I appreciate you a lot and I will catch you in the next video. Mwah. Bye-bye.